He was the only man who ever said, "Stay inside, I'll stand in front of the door," and actually meant it. But when her abusive ex shows up downstairs, buzzing her apartment and screaming her name, every instinct in Lily's body tells her to run to the hallway. Tonight, if she opens that door, she won't just lose her safety, she might lose Malik too. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe, tap like and share this video. The more voices we reach, the louder these stories become. And drop your city in the comments. Let's see where love finds us. The first knock sounded like a mistake. Lily froze in the middle of her tiny living room, one hand around a chipped mug, the other still hovering over her phone screen where the message glowed. "You really think a locked door can stop me?" Her stomach twisted. She glanced at the deadbolt for the 10th time that hour. Chair wedged under the knob, chain latched. Peephole covered with a sticky note because she hated the idea of someone staring back. The second knock was softer, more patient. "Miss Carver? It's Malik from security. You called in earlier?" His voice was low and steady, with a warmth that somehow cut through the hum of her panic. For a moment, Lily just stood there, her thick, soft body humming with adrenaline. Oversized t-shirt, short cotton shorts hugging her hips, red hair piled in a messy bun. She felt exposed, even though no one could see her yet. Her brain whispered all the warnings she'd memorized. Don't open the door. Don't trust men you don't know. Don't be stupid again. But the text message sat there, a threat she could still feel like fingers around her throat. She set the mug down with a clink, stepped slowly toward the door, and peeled the sticky note away from the peephole. The man in the hallway looked exactly like the front desk described, and nothing like the men who haunted her memories. Tall, dark brown skin, smooth and deep. Broad shoulders filling out a black security jacket, logo of the building stitched over his chest. He stood with his hands visible at his sides, slightly away from his body, like he'd learned how not to startle people. His face wasn't smiling, but it wasn't hard either. Calm, watchful. He met the peephole with a quick glance, then looked down, giving her the choice. Lily's heart skipped. Carefully, she flicked the chain loose but kept the deadbolt on. The door opened a crack. "Yeah?" Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. He stepped back immediately, giving her space. "Hey, I'm Malik, night security. Your message got flagged as urgent. I wasn't sure anyone would actually come." The words just slipped out, half laugh, half confession. "Some things we don't ignore," he said simply. "Can I talk you through a few safety checks? You don't have to open the door more than you're comfortable with." That sentence, "you don't have to," hit her harder than she expected. She'd spent 3 years with a man who treated her comfort like an obstacle, her body like something he owned, her fear like a joke. Now this stranger was building a boundary around her, not pushing past one. She opened the door another few inches, aware of her curves, of how men usually looked at her like she was an invitation they hadn't earned. Malik's gaze stayed at eye level. "I got some messages," she said, holding up the phone like evidence. Her hand shook. "My ex, he used to live with me. He knows my patterns. I moved, changed numbers, but he found my work. Then today he wrote that he knows where I live now." "You have the messages?" he asked. "Yes." "Okay. After we check your place, we'll screenshot everything for the police report if you're okay with that." He paused. "May I come in to check your locks and windows? I'll narrate everything I do. You can stay by the door." She swallowed. The word may settled in her chest like a warm stone. "Yeah," she whispered. "Okay." She undid the deadbolt and stepped back. Malik didn't move until she'd taken a full step away from the frame. Then he entered, slow and deliberate, closing the door behind him and testing the handle. "Front lock is solid," he said, more to her than to himself. "You did good with the chair. Old trick, but it works." He moved through the apartment, big body careful not to bump her furniture. Checked the chain, the window latches, even the tiny bathroom window she always forgot about. Each time he told her what he was doing before he did it. Behind his movements, Lily felt the trembling in her legs start to ease. Her apartment was small. Second-hand couch, low coffee table, candles everywhere. But it was hers, her one fragile slice of peace. Having him in it should have made her more anxious. Instead, his presence felt like heavier walls. "How long have you been living like this?" he asked softly, pausing by her bedroom door where a second chair leaned against the frame, evidence of many sleepless nights. Too long, she murmured. Not long enough to stop jumping at shadows. He nodded once, as if that made perfect sense. No pity in his eyes, just understanding. Bedroom window locks are old, he said. They close, but if someone really wanted to force them... He hesitated. Do you want me to be completely honest? Yes. They'd slow him down, but they wouldn't stop him. Malik said, I'm going to put in a work order to have these upgraded. Until then, I'll show you a way to secure them better with what you have. He used a screwdriver from his belt to tighten a screw, then wedged a cut piece of wood in the frame so it couldn't slide open more than an inch. She watched his hands, steady, capable, gentle. You're very calm, she said, trying to joke. Is that a security guy thing, or are you just born like that? A little of both. The corner of his mouth tugged up. My grandma used to say I was built for storms. No sense in panicking about rain you can't stop. You just board the windows and keep the people safe. Lily's throat tightened. No one's ever boarded anything for me. He looked up then. Really looked. Not at her curves, not at the neckline of her t-shirt, but at the exhaustion under her eyes. The fear she'd worn for so long it felt like a second skin. You deserve it, he said quietly. Bare minimum. Bare minimum. Being protected. Being believed. Being worth the trouble. Her vision blurred. She blinked hard. So what now? He said he knows my address. If he shows up, Malik said, he won't get near your door without me on the camera seeing him. I'm setting your apartment as a priority watch tonight and for the next week. If you hear anything, you call the desk or hit the emergency button on the app, and I'm the one who comes up. No one else. Is that allowed? He smiled then, slow and brief. You're a tenant. He's a threat. That's all the permission I need. She let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. The floor stopped leaning. Do you live alone? He asked, professional again. Yes, it's just me. Okay. Is there anyone you'd want us to call if something happened? Friend? Sibling? Lily hesitated. Her mind, when it searched for safe numbers, came up empty. Her parents lived 3 states away and thought she was too dramatic. Friends had drifted when she went quiet during the worst of her relationship. No, she said finally. No one. Malik's jaw flexed. Then tonight I'm your backup. I'll be making rounds anyway. I'll knock again in a few hours to check in if you're okay with that. If not, I'll just watch the camera feeds. Check in, she whispered. The idea of another knock, his knock, already calmed her. Yeah, okay. He walked back to the door, then stopped, looking at the chair she'd shoved under the knob. You can keep that if it helps you feel better, he said. But you should know, between the deadbolt, the chain, and the extra watch I'm putting on your floor, your odds are already a lot higher than they were yesterday. Lily nodded, tears prickling hot. Thank you. He opened the door, then paused with his hand still on the knob. One more thing, he said. If he ever does show up, and if you hear my voice telling you to stay inside. His gaze met hers, steady and unshakable. Promise me you'll listen. You've done enough fighting alone, Miss Carver. Let someone else stand in front of the door for once. Her chest ached. The promise sat on her tongue, heavy and terrifying. I'll try, she said. He shook his head slightly. You don't deserve try when it comes to your safety. You deserve yes. Something in her snapped in the best way. The part that had always defaulted to protecting everyone else, even the man who hurt her, stepped aside. Yes, she breathed. Okay, yes, if it's you, I'll stay inside. He gave a small, satisfied nod. Good, I'll be back in a few hours. When the door closed behind him and the lock slid back into place, the apartment was quiet again. The threat was still out there, somewhere in the night. But for the first time in a long time, Lily didn't feel like prey behind flimsy walls. There was a man in the building who had seen all her fear and hadn't mocked it, who had walked through her fragile little space and tried to make it stronger. He'd given her something she'd forgotten how to ask for. Safety. She looked at the door, at the chair, at the window with the new wedge of wood in it, and realized her heart was doing something unfamiliar. Not just calming. Reaching. The knock came just after midnight. Lily had been pretending to read the same page for 20 minutes, curled on the couch in an oversized hoodie that swallowed her soft curves, legs tucked under her. The TV glowed on mute, some cooking show she wasn't really watching, just using as background light so the dark wouldn't feel so big. Her phone vibrated twice on the coffee table. Unknown number. She stared at it, heart in her throat, until the text preview slid into view. "This is Malik from security. I'm at your door. Wanted to check in like we discussed. No rush." Her shoulders dropped a fraction. She set the book aside, padded carefully to the door, glancing at the peephole even though she already knew who it was. He stood there like before, broad, quiet, solid. Jacket zipped up against the chill of the hallway, hands out of his pockets, posture relaxed but ready. The camera above his head flashed a tiny green light. She unlatched the chain, keeping the deadbolt on. "Yeah?" she called. "Just me," he said. "And I brought proof I've been annoying the police on your behalf." That made her smile in spite of herself. She opened the door fully this time, the deadbolt still a little comfort between them. His gaze flicked over her quickly. Bare face, messy bun, thick legs visible beneath the hem of the hoodie, and then returned to her eyes like it was the only part that mattered. "You okay?" he asked. "More okay than I thought I'd be," she admitted. "No more messages, no sounds at the door. Just my brain." He nodded. "Brains are loud. Mine too, some nights." He lifted the small tablet in his hand. "I filed an incident report with the non-emergency line, got a reference number. If you want to go further, we can. For now, your building account is flagged. Anyone asking for your apartment gets screened." "You did all that already?" she asked, surprised. "I said I would," he replied, as if it were obvious. She pressed her lips together. The weight of being believed of someone following through felt almost as strange as the fear had earlier. "Can I show you something?" he asked. "No bad news, just information." She hesitated, then unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door wider. "Okay." He stepped inside, again careful to leave space between them. The faint scent of his cologne, clean, warm, with a hint of spice, mixed with the vanilla candle burning on her coffee table. He balanced the tablet on his forearm and tapped a few times. "These are the cameras for your floor," he said. "I looped back the last hour. Nobody has been near your door except me." Grainy black and white footage appeared. The hallway outside her apartment, empty. Then Malik walking by on his rounds, pausing once to look at her door like he could see through it, then moving on. She felt strangely outside herself watching it. The lonely little door, the man who slowed down for it, as if it mattered more than the others. "You really are checking," she murmured. "I thought you just meant you'd, I don't know, glance when you passed by." He huffed a soft laugh. "If I tell someone they're under my watch, I mean it. Otherwise the wise words don't mean much." Her chest tightened. Trent's promises flashed through her mind like static. "I'll never hurt you again. I'll change. I love you. You're safe with me." Always followed by slammed doors and bruised wrists. She sank onto the arm of the couch, fingers twisting in the hem of her hoodie. "I don't know what to do with that. Someone actually meaning what they say." "You start small," he said. "You let yourself believe, maybe. Just maybe. Not everyone is lying." Their eyes met. Something silent passed between them, her raw, bruised mistrust, his steady, patient offer not to push it. "You said your grandma thought you were built for storms," she said quietly. "Is that why you do this?" "Partly." He leaned one shoulder against the wall, still close enough to the door that he could react fast if someone tried it. "She raised me and my little sister. We lived in a building kind of like this, but worse locks, worse lighting. One night, when I was 14, someone tried to break in. I moved a dresser in front of the door by myself." His mouth curved, but there was no humor in it. "Decided that night that as long as I had a say, no one I loved was going to be scared in their own home again." "Did it work?" she asked softly. "Sometimes," he said. "Sometimes you stop the bad things before they start. Sometimes all you can do is show up after and sit with people while they shake." His gaze softened. "Either way, you don't leave them alone." Lily swallowed around the lump in her throat. "You must see a lot." "Enough to know fear when it's lived in," he answered, "and enough to know when someone's doing the hard work of leaving." She looked down at her hands, at the faint scar on her knuckles from the night she finally pushed Trent away and slammed the door in his face. "It didn't feel brave," she said. "It just felt desperate." "I'll let you in on a secret," Malik said. "Most bravery looks like desperation from inside the moment." He tilted his head. "Did you have anyone with you when you left him?" "No," she whispered. "Just a trash bag and a bus ticket. And a manager who let me crash on her couch for 2 weeks while she pretended I was helping her redecorate so her kids wouldn't ask questions. And now you're here, with your own keys. He nodded toward the table. Your own mugs, your own walls. Her gaze drifted over the space, the second-hand couch she'd saved for, the ridiculous bright pink kettle. The framed art she'd picked because it made her feel like sunlight even when the world didn't. I've been so busy staying small and quiet, I haven't really looked at it, she admitted. That's how survival works, he said. You shrink to fit the safest corner. Then one day, if you get lucky, you realize the room is bigger than you thought. Her eyes stung. She blinked quickly, embarrassed to be crying in front of this man who had his own problems, his own rounds, his own storms. Sorry, she muttered, wiping under one eye. I'm a mess. You're a person, he corrected gently. Mess comes standard. She laughed, wet and surprised. The sound echoed in the tiny living room, softer than her earlier fear. Have you eaten tonight? He asked, glancing at the untouched plate on the counter. Not really, she admitted. Didn't feel like it. You should try, he said. Your body does better with fuel. Fear burns a lot of energy. She huffed a little. Do you talk to all your tenants like this? Only the ones I find half standing in a fight-or-flight stance 3 hours after their shift ends, he said dryly. The others just get a good evening and me telling them their package is at the desk. Lucky me, she murmured. He pushed off the wall. Lucky building. You seem like someone who makes spaces softer. Her cheeks went warm. No man had ever made her feel like her softness was a contribution instead of a flaw. You should get back to your rounds, she said after a beat, not wanting to be the reason some other emergency slipped through the cracks. I'll try to eat and sleep. He nodded. I'll swing by again around 3. I won't knock unless something's wrong, but I'll be on this floor. If you need anything before that, call downstairs and ask for me by name. She walked him back to the door, fingers brushing the edge of the wood where he'd tested the lock earlier. As she reached to turn the deadbolt once he stepped out, her hand grazed his knuckles for the briefest second. Electricity shot up her arm, unexpected, sharp. He stilled, eyes flicking down, then up again. Sorry, she blurted, withdrawing her hand as if burned. No need, he said softly. He stepped back automatically, giving the distance right back to her. It wasn't rejection, just him reinforcing that this, whatever it was, would move at her pace. Good night, Lily. The way he said her name, low and steady, almost undid her completely. Good night, Malik, she whispered, and closed the door. She slid the deadbolt home, but for the first time it didn't feel like a barrier between her and the world. It felt like a final piece in a safety net he was helping her build. The hours that followed weren't miraculously peaceful. She still startled at the hum of the elevator, still checked the peephole twice when she thought she heard footsteps. At one point her phone buzzed with a promotional email, and she nearly dropped it. But when she lay in bed, staring at the shadows on her ceiling, she pictured Malik's steady form on the camera feed, walking the hallway, pausing by her door. She imagined him as a wall, one she hadn't had to build herself. On impulse, she got up, padded to the living room, and flicked on the small lamp near the window that faced the courtyard. Its golden glow spilled softly through the blinds. If you're out there, she whispered into the quiet, feeling foolish and brave at once, this is me saying I made it through the night. She didn't know if he would see it from the ground or if he'd ever look up at her window on his rounds. But leaving that light on felt like more than a habit. It felt like a signal. Not just, I'm scared, but also quietly, I'm starting to believe I might actually be safe. And somewhere on the monitors downstairs, on a grainy screen in a quiet security office, a tall man in a black jacket noticed that apartment 306, the one with the tenant who hadn't eaten from fear, now glowed warm against the dark. He didn't smile, but his shoulders loosened. For years his job had been keeping people from breaking. Tonight, for the first time in a while, it felt like maybe he was part of someone putting themselves back together. The third day started like it always did for Lily, with her body braced for danger, even while nothing obvious was wrong. She managed to get through work without spilling coffee or bursting into tears. That alone felt like victory. Her co-workers chatted about weekend plans. She nodded in the right places, half present, fingers brushing the phone in her pocket like a talisman. Twice, she almost told someone about the messages. Both times, she swallowed the words. Easier to pretend she was just tired. When she came home that evening, Malik was at the front desk, jacket unzipped, sleeves pushed up over strong forearms as he signed something on a clipboard. The building's fluorescent lights did nothing for anyone, but he still looked solid, reliable. He looked up as the glass doors slid open. "Hey, Lily." Her name in his voice softened something inside her. "Hey, long night?" "They're all long." A ghost of a smile. "You sleep any?" "A little," she admitted. The light helped. "I saw." He nodded, as if the lamp in her window had been a private message he'd received loud and clear. Good choice. She hovered, hugged by her coat, aware of her curves beneath her clothes, of how for once she didn't feel like she needed to hide them from his eyes. He never lingered on her body. He looked at her like she was a person first, a woman second. "I, brought donuts for the staff," she said, lifting a small box she'd almost chickened out of buying. "In case you need sugar to stay awake or something." His brows lifted just a fraction. "That's kind." "It's selfish," she said honestly. "You staying awake helps me sleep." That earned a real smile. "Then I'll take the selfish kindness." He accepted the box like it was more important than it was, fingers brushing hers briefly. Warm, calloused. The contact zinged straight up her arm, but he didn't hold on. He just nodded toward the hallway. "I'm on until morning. Floors are quiet so far." His tone shifted just slightly, professional sliding over personal. "If anything feels off tonight, you know what to do. Call downstairs, ask for you," she recited. "And stay inside." She met his eyes. "I remember." "Good." He relaxed again. "Get some rest, Lily." The elevator doors slid shut between them. By 10, she'd eaten, showered, and changed into soft leggings and a loose sleep shirt that clung to her curves and made her feel both exposed and comforted. She lit a candle, turned on the little lamp by the window, and curled up on the couch with a blanket. She almost believed tonight might be boring. The first buzz shattered that illusion. It came through the intercom, a harsh, insistent sound that cut straight through the TV noise and ran icy fingers down her spine. Lily froze. Nobody used the intercom for her. The few packages she got were left in the lobby. Her friends texted, on the rare occasion they visited. The buzzer sounded again, longer. Her phone screen lit up on the coffee table before she could reach for it. "You really thought you could hide forever?" The number was blocked, but she knew the rhythm of the words, the way he capitalized when he was angry. Trent. Her chest collapsed, the living room blurred at the edges. He hit the buzzer again, like a hand slamming against her skull. For a split second, the old habit whispered, "If you just go down, if you just talk to him, he'll leave." He always said he would leave if you just listened. Then another voice cut in, low and steady, remembered from a quiet hallway. "If he ever does show up, and you hear my voice telling you to stay inside, promise me you'll listen." Her fingers, shaking, closed around her phone and opened the building's app. Emergency button. It took a second to find it, second that felt like eternity, but then her thumb slammed down. The phone rang once. "Lily?" Malik's voice filled her ear. Calm, immediate. "You okay?" Her breath came in sharp gasps. He's here." He buzzed, he texted, he said, "Okay," Malik said. Not "what did he say?" Not "are you sure?" Just "okay." "Are you in your apartment?" "Yes." "Is the door locked?" "Yes." "Good. I see him on the camera by the front door. Tall, light jacket, backwards cap, pacing like he owns the place." She pictured Trent's restless bounce, the way he always shifted his weight like the world bored him. That's him. "I'm heading out there now," Malik said. She heard the squeak of his chair, the soft clatter of keys. "I want you to move away from your front door. Go to your bedroom or the bathroom, somewhere without a direct line to the hallway. Can you do that for me?" Her legs didn't want to move. Panic rooted them to the spot. But his voice cut through the static, anchoring. "In," she whispered. She dropped to her knees and crawled around the couch, body shaking, the blanket trailing behind her like a cape that didn't quite fit. "I'm moving." "Good. That's it. You remember the breathing we talked about?" She pressed her back against the side of the bed, pulling her knees up. "In for 4, out for 6, she rasped. "Exactly, do that with me." His voice dropped, slow and measured. "In, 2, 3, 4. Out." 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Her lungs fought at first, still caught in the old rhythm of panic, but she clung to his count like a rope. In, 2, 3, 4. Through the phone, he was something between a metronome and a shield. She heard the faint whoosh of the lobby doors through his end of the line. Then, muffled but clear enough, another voice, sharp, familiar, slicing through her like glass. "Hey man, I'm just here for my girl. Buzz 306. She's expecting me." Malik's reply came, firm. "No one's expecting you. You need to step away from the panel." "My name's on the lease," Trent lied smoothly. He always did. "She's probably too scared to buzz me in with you standing there. Just let me handle my business." Lily squeezed her eyes shut. Once, that line would have worked on anyone. It had worked on her, over and over. "She lives here," Trent insisted. "I have a right." "You don't," Malik cut in. "Her name is on the lease. She's flagged you as a threat. You're not welcome in this building. I'm asking you one time. Step away from the door." There was a pause. She could picture Trent's face, the way fake charm slid off when someone wouldn't bend. She heard the sharp exhale she knew meant his anger was rising. "Who the hell are you?" he spat. His voice crackled faintly through the phone. "You her new boyfriend or something? That why she's ignoring my texts now?" Lily flinched. Malik's answer came, unbothered. "I'm the one between you and her door," he said, "and I'm calling the police. You can explain to them why you're trespassing after being told not to contact her." "You can't. You've got two choices," Malik said, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "You walk away on your own feet, or you wait here for a squad car. Either way, you're not coming in." The old Lily would have opened her door by now, slid down the chain, tried to soothe things to make sure nobody got in trouble. She would have believed Trent when he said it was all a misunderstanding. She gripped the phone tighter and stayed exactly where she was. In. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Raised voices blurred through the speaker. Trent swearing, Malik's low replies, another male voice joining in as one of the other guards came over. Then the distant whoop of a siren growing closer. Time stopped meaning anything. Lily only knew the feel of the carpet under her bare feet, the taste of copper in her mouth, the sound of Malik breathing in her ear between words. Finally, there was a knock at her apartment door. Firm, professional. She jolted. "Lily?" Malik's voice, closer now, carried through both the phone and the wood. "It's me, with the officers. You can look through the peephole if you need to." Her legs trembled as she stood. She padded to the door, heart slamming. Through the tiny circle, she saw him. Malik, jacket zipped, standing beside two uniformed officers. Tired eyes, jaw tight. A thin red mark on his cheek she hadn't seen before. "You okay to open?" he asked. She nodded, then realized he couldn't see that, and forced her fingers to undo the chain and turn the lock. The door opened a crack, then more. The officers explained, calmly, respectfully, that Trent had been removed from the property, that a trespass notice was being filed, that with her cooperation they could help her seek a protective order. They asked if she wanted to press charges for harassment. She said yes, with a voice she barely recognized as her own. Through it all, Malik stayed a step back, present but not hovering. When the officers finally left, promising follow-up, the apartment fell quiet again. "Are you hurt?" Lily blurted, eyes on that red mark on his cheek. He blinked, surprised. "Me? No. He just decided getting in my face would help his case." His mouth twitched. "It didn't," she swallowed. "I heard you. I heard everything you said. You stood there and didn't let him twist it like he always does." His gaze softened. "You stayed inside." "I promised," she said. "That promise might have saved you a lot of hurt tonight," he replied. "You did good, Lily." The words hit her deeper than any compliment about her looks ever had. She leaned against the doorframe, suddenly exhausted. "Do you need to get back downstairs?" she asked. "I don't want to mess up your shift." "I've got coverage for a bit," he said. "I told them I'd check on you before I went back." He hesitated. "If you'd rather be alone, I can go." She looked around at the little apartment that had never felt smaller and yet, somehow, had never felt more like hers. Her eyes drifted back to him, the man who had put his body between her and her past without asking for anything in return. "Would you stay for a minute?" she asked quietly. "Just sit. I know that sounds childish, but everything in me is shaking and I don't want to pretend I'm fine yet." "That's not childish," he said softly. "That's human." He stepped inside. She closed the door carefully, locking it again, more out of habit than fear. This time, the locks felt less like walls and more like boundaries she owned. She led him to the couch, suddenly hyper-aware of her thick hips, the way her sleep shirt clung to her curves. For a second, shame tried to creep in. Then she caught his expression, tired, gentle, proud, and realized he wasn't assessing her body. He was checking her for bruises. "Tea," she blurted. His eyebrows lifted. "You don't need to. I want to," she said. "You keep giving me safety. Let me give you something, okay? Even if it's just oversteeped tea." Something flickered over his face. Surprise, then something almost like hunger, but not for her body. For care. "Okay," he said. "Tea sounds good." In the kitchen, she busied her shaking hands with mugs and hot water. When she came back, he was sitting on the edge of the couch, big frame taking up more space than the furniture really offered, trying to make himself small. She handed him a mug. Their fingers brushed again. "Thank you," he murmured. They sat in a silence that wasn't empty. The TV flickered quietly, some rerun she didn't track. Her candle burned low. "My place is quiet," he said after a moment, staring into his cup. "I got used to the idea that my job is to stand in hallways while everyone else turns on their lamps and locks their doors. Never thought I'd end up on the other side of one, being invited in." She studied him, the tired set of his shoulders, the way he still sat as if ready to jump up at any second. "Does anyone wait up for you?" she asked softly. He huffed a humorless laugh. "My sister sometimes, if I swing by on my way home. She sends me pictures of my niece. Other than that, no. It's just me and whatever leftovers I remember to buy." Lily's heart clenched. She'd spent so long thinking of safety as something other people gave, something she couldn't possibly offer. Now here was this man who protected an entire building and went home to 4 blank walls. "This place has never really felt like home to me," she admitted. "More like a hiding spot with decent rent. But tonight," she swallowed, "tonight, because of you, it felt like more, like I wasn't fighting alone, like the walls were on my side." His jaw worked. He stared at his hands. "You did that," she said. "Not just the cameras and the locks. You. Believing me, standing there and not letting him rewrite the story." He looked up, eyes dark and intense. "Lily, let me say this," she cut in, voice shaking but sure. "You gave me safety. I've never had that from a man. Not really. Not like this." He didn't speak, but something in his face crumpled, just a little. She took a breath. "I know I'm a lot. Curvy, emotional, a walking worst-case scenario half the time. But if you ever need a place that isn't just a hallway or a monitor, if you ever need somewhere that feels like more than just passing through, you can knock here. You don't have to stand on the other side of the door with everyone else." "Lily," his voice was rough now, stripped bare. "You don't owe me that." "I know," she said. "That's why I'm offering it." The air between them shifted, warm and fragile. He set his mug down carefully, like any sudden movement might shatter it. "I have to be careful," he said finally. "This job, these lines." "I'm not asking you to break any rules," she whispered. "I'm just saying, when your shift ends, if you ever want a cup of tea that isn't from a vending machine, I'll leave the lamp on." He let out a slow breath. For a moment he looked like the weight of every hallway he'd ever guarded was sitting on his shoulders, and then, slowly, it eased. "I might take you up on that," he said, "one day when the storms are quiet." "Storms never really stop," she said, "but maybe sometimes there's a living room in between." He smiled then, a real one. It transformed his whole face. "Maybe there is," he agreed. Hours later, after he finally stood and promised to check in before his shift ended, Lily walked him to the door. When he stepped into the hallway, he paused, looking back at her, at the soft lamp light against her pale skin, her messy hair, her curves wrapped in a blanket she clutched around herself like armor. She was still learning she didn't need with him. "Get some sleep, Lily," he said. "You too," she replied. "And Malik?" "Yeah. Thank you for standing in front of the door." He held her gaze. "Thank you for letting someone." When the door closed, the apartment was quiet again. The danger was still out there in the world, in court dates and paperwork and memories that would take time to fade. But inside these 4 walls, something fundamental had shifted. She wasn't just a woman hiding in a rental anymore. She was someone building a home, with her own lamp, her own locks, and the knowledge that somewhere in the building, A man who understood storms was walking the hallways, knowing there was one door he could knock on if he ever needed shelter too.